Alright everybody, so we're back and we're talking about some of the weird wording and choice of words that they're using today in regards to Spider-Man Homecoming and Peter Parker's long-established set of powers. Now today we're going to be talking about the one and only power that is known as Spidey Sense. So you're probably saying, Armin, we know how Spidey Sense works, everybody knows how Spidey Sense works, there's no need to talk about it, we've had 2 movie series deal with the exact same thing. Well, apparently the director Jon Watts, who of course directed Spider-Man Homecoming in the MCU, feels the same way, as apparently Spidey Sense doesn't exist in this iteration of the character. Okay, now my Spidey Sense is tingling. So before we all bandwagon onto hating him, and I feel like I'll do it a little bit myself, let's first see what Jon Watts exactly had to say. I feel like we've seen a lot of Spider-Sense in the previous films, so we didn't really lean into that as hard as they had in the previous films, but I do think it is a really interesting thing to explore. So yeah, that's an interesting choice of words. Now, I think websites are blowing this out of proportion. I do think that they're definitely going to have Spider-Sense. Hell, they even hint at it in Captain America Civil War. He talks about how much stuff is just kind of flying at him, so that's why the eyes work the way they do, so he can kind of focus on certain things. So maybe the suit's also like blocking it or something, you know, everything coming in, like he hasn't figured it out. But he says, you know, we've seen a lot of Spider-Sense in the previous films. Which is true. Peter Parker learning how it works and, you know, all that, and him getting into a situation and figuring it out. That is a big part of the previous iterations of Spider-Man. But I don't think anywhere here he necessarily says Peter doesn't have it. He just says they're not exploring it right now as it's been dealt with in the previous films. And hell, they did that with Uncle Ben too. They're not going to show you Uncle Ben get shot. They're not going to show you, you know, the stuff we've seen previously because it's been done over and over. We all know the basics. But then he adds, but I do think it's really interesting thing to explore. So I think they're literally just going to save this for down the road and really play around with it. Not the fact that he's not going to have it, but they're just saying, you know, it's going to take some time to get there, as Peter Parker is still learning. The previous movies more or less jump over it. He explores it once or twice and it's like, alright, he knows how it works. In this, I think they're taking a little bit more grounded approach as they are with other stuff, so it's going to take him a little bit more time to learn that he has this almost precognitive power, if that makes sense. So I think what they're saying is he still has it, they're just not necessarily going to dive deep into exploring it just yet.